the Enlightenment. Identifying the major ideas of the Enlightenment from the writings of Locke, Voltaire, and Rousseau, and their relationship to politics and society. From 1650 to 1800, European philosophers began rethinking old ideas about government, religion, economics, which led to an era known as the Enlightenment, also called the Age of Reason. The intellectuals of the Enlightenment were called Philosophs, and they shared some basic beliefs. The Philosophs advocate reason. The Enlightenment reaches its height in France in the mid-1700s. Paris became the meeting place for people who wanted to discuss politics and ideas. The social critics of this period in France were known as Philosophs, the French word for philosophers. The Philosophs believed that people could apply reason to all aspects of life, just as Isaac Newton had applied reason to science. Everything could be explained by observing universal truths, known as natural laws. A belief in progress, that the world could be improved and that life could be enjoyed. Why did the Enlightenment begin? During the Renaissance, people began to question medieval ideas, emphasize individual potential, called humanism, and encourage education. During the Age of Exploration, the discovery of new lands and trade routes led Europeans to search for other new things. During the Protestant Reformation, people began to question church teachings, freely explore new ideas, and tolerate other religions. During the age of absolute monarchs, powerful kings spent lavishly, fought expensive wars, and ruled without regard to their nation's people. During the scientific revolution, scholars applied logic, perfected the scientific method, and made new discoveries that shattered old ideas. This gave Enlightenment philosophers a model to follow to make new theories about society. The most important Enlightenment ideas were those that challenged rule by absolute monarchs and presented new theories about government. Political ideas of the Enlightenment. One of the first political thinkers of the Enlightenment was Thomas Hobbes. Hobbes was bothered by the English Civil War and chaos that plagued England after the beheading of King Charles I. Hobbes believed that humans are naturally cruel, selfish, and hungry for power. Hobbes argued that people need to be protected from themselves. What kind of government do you think Hobbes supported? Hobbes supported rule by absolute monarchs. He used scientific reasoning to argue that only kings with absolute power could maintain order in society. Hobbes believed in an idea called the social contract. People give up power and rights to a king, who in turn provides law and order. English philosopher John Locke disagreed with the ideas of Thomas Hobbes. He was influenced by the Glorious Revolution when the Bill of Rights was created to protect citizens' rights. Locke believed that people are born with natural rights, including life, liberty, and property. Locke argued that kings could be overthrown if they violated people's rights. What kind of government do you think Locke supported? Locke supported limited or constitutional monarchies. Locke believed that government power came from the consent of the governed, meaning the approval of the people, and that kings should protect the rights of the people. Quick writing prompt. Whose ideas are right? Hobbes or Locke's? Explain your point of view. The French philosoph Voltaire was one of the most famous writers of the Enlightenment. Voltaire argued for the rights of freedom of speech and religion. He criticized intolerance, prejudice, and oppression. Voltaire was jailed twice in France for criticizing the government, but his letters to European monarchs helped introduce new reforms and freedoms. Quick write. Do you agree with Voltaire? Voltaire once said, "I may disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." When, if ever, should freedom of speech be restricted? Baron de Montesquieu agreed with John Locke that government should protect individual liberties and that too much power led to tyranny. Montesquieu believed in separation of powers. Divide power among three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. Montesquieu's model of government also included a system of checks and balances in which each branch of government could limit the power of the other branches. The Swiss philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed in individual freedom. Rousseau believed that people are naturally good, but power corrupts them. Free people form a social contract and government based on the common good. What kind of government do you think Rousseau supported? Rousseau argued for a direct democracy that is guided by the general will of the majority of citizens. Quick write. Which form of government is better? Separation of powers or direct democracy? Italian philosopher Cesare Beccaria criticized abuses in the judicial system. Beccaria was upset with the use of torture, corrupt judges, secret trials, and severe punishments for crimes. He argued that people accused of crimes should be given a fair and speedy trial, and that capital punishment and torture should be abolished. Quick write. Is capital punishment an acceptable form of punishment for crimes? Explain your point of view. Closure activity. Which Enlightenment philosoph? Analyze excerpts from famous documents and match them to the correct Enlightenment thinker. Number 1. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Declaration of Independence, 1776. Which philosoph would have agreed with these ideals? And explain your reasoning. Number 2. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial, by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. U.S. Bill of Rights. Which Philosoph's ideas are presented here, and explain your reasoning. Number 3. The free communication of ideas and opinions is one of the most precious of the rights of man. Every citizen may thus speak, write, and print with freedom, but shall be responsible for such abuses of this freedom as shall be defined by law. Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, 1789. Which philosoph would agree with these ideas? Explain your reasoning. Number 4. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. The executive power shall be vested in President of the United States of America. The judicial power shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may ordain and establish. U.S. Constitution. Which philosoph would agree with these ideas? Explain your reasoning. In 2003, the communities of Freetown and Lakeville, Massachusetts, held their annual town meetings and voted on the budget for the school district. Freetown voters approved a budget that reduced their contribution by $100,000 from what the school committee asked for. Which philosoph would agree with this, and why? Six, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. U.S. Bill of Rights, 1791. As all persons are held innocent until they have been declared guilty, if arrest is not considered essential, all harshness not necessary for the securing of the person shall be severely repressed by the law. Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, 1789. Which philosoph would agree with this, and why? Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. Declaration of Independence, 1776. And last, every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it become a law, be presented to the President of the United States. If he approve, he shall sign it, but if not, he shall return it, with his objections to that House in which it shall have originated, who shall proceed to reconsider it. U.S. Constitution. Which philosoph would agree with this, and why?